Hello everyone, it's Lindsay, and today I'm back with another flip through video for you guys. These are a little bit easier for me right now, and hopefully you guys are enjoying them. As you've seen maybe over on Instagram and here as my most recent video, I am loving this process of deconstructing the Bible journaling devotionals and then turning them into a junk journal of sorts. That way I have all of my creativity in one place and it's ready to go, and then I've got places to take notes directly within the devotional as I'm working on it. And this has just been really, really nice, especially for this current season where I don't have a ton of time to sit and do super elaborate Bible journaling pages. I'm not giving that up. I still want to do that, and I can still do those alongside this project, but this lets me scratch that creative itch, get some of those beautiful things into the devotional, and also have, freedom to create and don't have to take a lot with me. So I can take this little book, my Bible, go on the go, take my notes, do my study, and I've got everything that I need. So this video and this project is going to be using the Firestarter devotional kit from Open Journey. I do have a detailed unboxing of that release, so I'll link that down below. I do believe I also have a process video for this kit. I'll link that down below, where I worked in my Bible. I had plans to do weekly teachings, but I'm not going to be doing that at this moment. I'm going to take a break from those in-depth teachings and just take some time to just be creative. So this is Firestarter. These kits are still available. I will link them down below. Again, check out that unboxing because I talk about all the different options. There's a physical option, digital option, add-ons. I won't be able to mention whether I used add-ons or the main kit because I just dump everything together and I don't remember what came from what, but I pretty much used only the Firestarter release exclusively for this. So stay tuned to the end of the video. I'll put a timestamp down below for you guys where I show how I actually went through coil binding this, like the actual process. Yes, there are mistakes. It's not perfect, but for those of you who are asking to see it actually assembled, you can see that at the end of this video. But what I did was took the devotional from the kit, opened it to the very center, pulled out the staples, used my trimmer to just cut right down the center of every single page. So they were individual pages. And then I went through and created a whole bunch of inserts ahead of time and had everything kind of laid out, ready to go, and then coil bound it. So I wanted to walk you through, show you the different inserts. Now with a project like this, you could go wild with the kind of things that you want to do in here. There's all kinds of junk journal videos out there for like interactive, folders and tuck pockets and tags and all kinds of things. I'm trying to keep it pretty simple. That way it's something that I can actually do and finish. So the pages are pretty simple. Jumping right in, I didn't give myself any kind of extra note places in these first few spots just because I had already worked through this part of the devotional. I already did a detailed process video in my Bible for this day 1 section, so I didn't put anything here. Now I can always come in and add pieces if I want to. I would just need to punch into them, and then I just cut a little slit let me show you how I do that. So here's a tester page. So I would go ahead and punch the holes with my Cinch machine, and then if you just go through and snip a little piece right into the center, or you could do 2 snips so it takes out like a chunk. See the difference there? This actually goes in a little bit better if you take a chunk out, but I can do that for any piece that I want to insert in here. And then I've got a piece that I can pop in and pop out. Of course, it's not, as secure as the pieces that were assembled together, but it's pretty secure. That's not going to be falling out. So I can still add things in here if I want to. So I'm not completely limited. So this is one of the first inserts that I did. So these I do want to note, I was talking to a friend online yesterday, I think, or the day before about this, was that these particular devotionals from Open Journey lend themselves so well to this style of project because their devotionals themselves are pieces of artwork. The beautiful images that she has, I mean, look at that. Like, you don't really need to add anything else in there. So it does make it even easier because you don't have to have a lot of stuff to put in here because it's already really pretty. But one thing that I have an abundance of is these dyed papers. So I had done a video, I'll try to find it and link it down below. It was like a shorts or a reels video I think I did, dyeing papers with distress-free inkers. I know I keep mentioning this because I have a ton of them. I did this last year, I think, last summer, and I just keep using them over and over. I just did a whole bunch. I have a giant, like, folder of all of these various papers in different colors, and I just have them right here, and I can pull them out and use them. So I just went through and picked ones that were kind of the similar colors to the notebook, and this just gives you a really nice foundation. It already has color, texture, interest. You know, I even left on in some places this part here. So you'll see a lot of this within this notebook. So I used one of those papers. I cut it down to be the same size as the page of the booklet, and then I just added a few things. The idea is to have space to write and journal, right? So I used a ton of the clear stickers from the kit, some of the regular stickers. These pieces here, I showed how I did this in the Bible journaling process video. There was a sheet, I have everything right here, a sheet of these stickers, and they were just regular squares. And then I used a Tim Holtz die that has, it's like this. So they come like this. They're just regular square stickers like this, no decorative edges. So while it was still on the backer sheet, I used a die. Let me grab it. Postal. Postal has these little postage stamp dies, so I used all three actually, and pre-cut out a bunch of these little stickers. I have them right here, so you can see here all different sizes and shapes. And so the backer sheet is still on them. There's still a sticker, but now they have a decorative cutout edge. So just by, creating a few ephemera pieces ahead of time also helps with the construction of something like this. I just had, kind of everything sprawled out. You probably saw that on Instagram if you're following me over there. Had everything sprawled out, ready to go. And then I could just throw pieces on the page. These you'll see throughout here. I haven't used these before on camera. These are the new, I think these are it. Sticker strips, mixed media sticker strips from Open Journey. So you get this giant bag of, I think she ended up sticking with the sticker version of them, if I remember correctly. But I mean, these are just tons and tons of little strips, which seems very simple, right? Like you could make these, but she's already done the work for you. I like that she uses consistent color palette through most of her kits. So even if I don't use all of them for this particular Firestarter kit, I'll be able to use them for other projects as well. But she's just gone and created a bunch of, it looks like trash, but it's just the perfect little way to add some interest to your pages. So that's kind of what I did. I just went through and stuck stickers, die cuts, again, just leaving myself plenty of room. I can always add in more. This is another great time to utilize the cards that come in the devotional kit. So when you get your devotional kit, the physical version, you'll have a folder that's got all of your goodies, right? It's got all of your stickers, and then it usually has these full page sheets. This one is a full page sticker, but there's also full page cardstock pages. And so those you don't have to do anything to. It just adds right in there. It is slightly smaller than the book. Again, pay attention to the last of the video if you want to see how I punched everything. But, that's already easy peasy. This is the way to use them. Put them in there. The back is white. And so I just added a few stickers. This was another great thing to use. So I had these in my stash. These were some of the word focus cards. These are the small vellum ones that I hadn't even used yet. And so I just went ahead and stapled that. I kind of looked to see what the content was, to see if this was a word that would go with it. But, it doesn't necessarily have to, but just a fun decorative piece. And then I think this was an add-on, were these little tickets. So then I've got a ticket on there. Again, I can do some additional journaling if I wanted to. Tuck that on. A little bit of the ribbon that's on the packaging. Used that. You'll see actually why I pulled that here in a minute, but there you go. There's also these margin-sized cardstock pieces in the devotional kit. So they've already got the artwork on them. They're sized and meant to fit into the margin of your 2-inch margin journaling Bibles. I just added it in here, added a few stickers, and then now I've got some additional journaling space. Very, very simply. It looks very decorative, but I didn't have to do any of that. It's already printed on there. Another one of those dyed papers, some clear stickers. you know, part of my problem with projects like this is I overthink things trying to decide like where to perfectly place stuff. And I just find this is a good exercise for getting used to just throwing stuff on the page. Because really when I fill this all in with notes, you're not really going to be paying attention to the decorative pieces, right? So this was a fun little thing. I used some of the die cuts. There were these butterflies and they're quite large. They're beautiful. Cut it in half and then you get 2 pieces. So I just had some of these butterflies kind of poking out of places, layered with some of the stickers. I did some smaller pieces. I like to have, you know, you could do them all large full pages like this, but I like there to be some variance. So there were these cards that are a horizontal orientation in the kit. And so I just kind of trimmed it down a little bit, folded it so that it was just shy of where that coil was gonna hit. And so now it's like a little fold-in piece. So I could do some journaling on here or just have it as a decorative element. Maybe I want to journal a prayer here. The back of the card is white, but I went ahead and just backed it with some of that dyed paper and have some journaling space so I can write directly on here. Again, using some of those butterflies. I let a little bit of that kind of torn edge hang over just so it's decorative. This is another one of those margin pieces. Kept it very simple, just gave myself some place to journal. This piece here was just like some scrap that I had cut off the bottom of another page. So I went ahead and just created another little flip out piece. Again, when I do these, I try to make sure I don't fold it perfectly in half. I fold it just slightly askew. That way it's not hitting where that coil is. So it makes it a little bit easier. This is just a little bit of leftover edging that I just stuck on there for some decorative element. This is one of those full cards that comes in the devotional kit. Just used a clear sticker, some more of those mixed media strips. Very, very simple. Dyed paper, one of the clear stickers. I love this particular piece here. It looks like it's been charcoaled right on the paper, but it's not. It's a sticker on that paper and then just some stickers. So there's only, 4 stickers on this page is all it took for it to look like that. And then just a die cut on the back, giving me plenty of room to write. This is one of those times where I don't go heavy on mixed media. I won't do a whole bunch of mixed media in here because it would be hard to write on this. I want to be mindful that the idea is that this is supposed to make it easier for me to study, right? I can just write directly on here. I don't have to worry about what type of pen or pencil I'm using, the color of it, or anything like that. I want it pretty easy to write on while still being fun. Here's another one of those horizontal style cards. I love, Ingrid had some videos on her Instagram and I think the Open Journey Instagram where she was praying for me and some other people in her family and friends would put their name here and pray for them. And so that's just a little prayer spot that I can utilize. And then did the same thing, backed it with some of that dyed paper, added some stickers. I love this particular one. I think is done with the ground espresso. In case everybody's wondering, yes, this is very, very, very deep brown, but depending on how many drops and how long you leave the paper in the water, gives you some variance in the intensity of color. But I found the ground espresso and a dirty cooking sheet, like a cooking sheet that had like stains in it. It wasn't dirty, like I didn't bake cookies and put it in my craft room. It was clean, but like, you know, it's got those stains. That actually added some interest in this paper as well. So I really love how that shows up. So just, you know, some paper, 3 stickers, and you've got that card. This was another full panel that was in the devotional kit. And she's got this exercise throughout the devotional with ask, offer, accept. And so I wanted, you know, I can write that directly here in the devotional. And then on the back side, I just used one of these grid cards. I showed you this in my other notebook. Very, very simple way to give you some space to work on. So this one, as I'm looking at it, I think what I did was this was the card. The card is white on the back. So then I used one of the full sticker sheets. So this is a full opaque sticker, covered that back of it, and then gave myself some journaling room just so it was a little more colorful, a little die cut and a sticker. This was an oops and I actually am going to do this again on purpose. So if you watch the end where I put this together, you'll see I full on camera accidentally punch holes on the wrong side. And so I mentioned in there to add something to it. And here's what I did. I just took some of that, again, some of that ribbon that was the packaging on the outside, and then just weaved it through the holes, used my tiny attacher to secure it. And now I've just got some fun decorative texture that fixes my oops. So that kind of worked out. It does add, a little bit of chunk in there. So I probably wouldn't do, the edge of every single page that way. And this paper is really beautiful, nice, coated like magazine paper, but it's not super thick. So I did have some issues with some tearing. You have to be very, very gentle if you're going to intentionally do this. But that kind of worked out there. Here's another one of those full panel cards, just backed it with some of the dyed papers. Very simple. And I love that everything is very cohesive. It looks like it was meant to be put together this way, right? This one, I just really love. I love this image. So I didn't want to cover it up. I didn't want to break it up because that image is meant to go together. So I just tucked in one of these tags. Again, these are from, I believe, the add-ons. Have these tags, and they are like this. They're just straight edge. I used the ticket die from Tim Holtz and used one of the larger dies in there to just cut out of this card to make it, have those decorative elements. But now I can write a prayer on here if I want to. Have that tucked in with a little paper clip, and then I've given myself extra room to write over here since I didn't give myself a ton of note-taking room on this page. So this one actually got punched backwards, but that's okay. This was some ledger paper that I had dyed, and then it was meant to actually be, the coil on this side, and then it would be a little flop open, but I oopsed it, and that's okay. So I've got room to write here. Here's another one of those vellum word focus pieces. Clear sticker. This is one of these larger sticker pieces. Just use that to cover the back of it. So again, very, very simple. Gives me plenty of room to do all the journaling from the other page and this page. Here we've got another one of those full cardstock pages that I've backed with some dyed paper. Used a index card to give myself some writing space. Use the other half of that butterfly. So, like I said, you can do all kinds of crazy little flip outs and pockets and tuck spots, but I try to keep this one reasonably simple. For the back here, there really isn't any need for a ton of journaling because I've got this space here, but I just used one of these guest checks. This is, again, another item that I had dyed with the Distress Reinkers. And then these were some beautiful pieces that you can purchase. It's like a little pack of these. I'm trying to find the other ones. I can't remember what these are called, but they are these really amazing little ephemera clusters. I think you get 3 or 4 in the pack, and I was kind of hoarding these because they're so beautiful, and they're a little chunky. I don't know that I would want this necessarily directly in my Bible. You could, but it worked with this coil binding because you've got some room. So I just adhered that to the front of this guest check just because it's so pretty. I wanted to have all that texture in there. And then I've got room to journal on the back and then another space. This is actually this is the back page of the devotional. So there is some room to write there. But there is a look at the Firestarter little junk journal notebook, I guess, that I put together. Looks, fluffy and fun and lots of color, but very minimal work. I just did this in a couple of hours and then took 30 minutes today to punch it all together. So it comes together very, very quick. And then what I will do is you'll be seeing this over on Instagram. I'll try to post photos over here as well on YouTube. I'm going to try to be a little bit better about that. But just as I go to that day and I take my notes, maybe I'll share some of the notes that I take, any additional pieces that I add. I can always insert extra pieces, extra ephemera bits if I wanted to. If there is enough product with these kits that I still have enough, I can do Bible journaling entries on top of this project as well. So if you like this idea, if you like, having a lot to work with, these kits definitely give you a lot of bang for your buck. There's plenty to work with. So if you have any questions, be sure to leave those down below. But I'm going to go ahead, we'll jump on over and I'll let you see how I assemble this booklet if you're interested to see how that comes together. All right, so here is a look at how I cinch or coil bind anything, but I'm working on this devotional here. So I've already gone ahead and created all of the pages that I want to be coil bound in here. I've already deconstructed the notebook. So I took out the staples and then cut each of the pages. So now they're individual pages and inserts and pieces like that, all stacked up and ready to go. I'm using the We Are Memory Keepers Cinch machine. Now, I do know that a newer one has been released since this one. It's a different setup. It has little inserts that change the type of hole that it punches. I'm not familiar with that one. I don't have that one. This is the Heidi Swap one. There's a regular, like non-branded cinch machine out there. Also, definitely an investment. I found mine on sale at Hobby Lobby, but I have used it over and over and over again. So you can use We Are Memory Keepers branded coils. You just need to do the research and figure out what the coil ratio is. I think it's 2 to 1, if I remember correctly when I was looking it up. I think it's 2 to 1 is what it is what you want to look for with the coils. I just buy the branded ones. That way it's safe. I know it works. They come in a variety of sizes. I have a hard time finding anything but this size, which is the 0.625 or 5/8 inch, or the larger, I think it's like a 1-inch coil. So I kind of actually need something in between for these notebooks, but that's okay. We're going to work with the 5/8 inch. Now, I have done a video showing how I coil bound a Bible, so I'll link that down below. I think I go way into detail in there as well on how to use this machine. If you have questions, there's lots of videos out there. I'm just gonna let you see it because I get lots of questions. So in the past, I've cut down the coil ahead of time, but I have found it's a little bit easier if you punch one of your pages first or punch a scrap piece of paper. Makes it a little bit easier. These come 12 inches long, so you can create a project up to 12 inches. This devotional from Open Journey is 8.5 inches tall, so we will have to snip this down. And to do that, what I've done is I've punched holes into a scrap piece of paper. I'll show you how to punch here in a second, but now I can count how many holes there are, and then I will count that number of this smaller loop and know how, where I need to cut. So this has 16 holes. We're going to count 16 sections here. So 1, 2, 3, 6. So this is the 16th one. So I'm going to actually cut on this side just past the 16th smallest loop. And so there are some We Are Memory Keepers branded little pliers. I'm not sure. I kind of think that's what these are since they're blue. I'm not sure. I used to do jewelry, so I have a bunch of these laying around, but it does have a little cutter area down towards the bottom there. So I'm going to snip right there on that larger loop. And there you go. So now that coil is sized. I don't throw this away. I save it because you can do little mini books with this and use this coil. So don't throw any of that away. And then we're going to lay this on the hooks on the edge here. And so everything is pretty simple to use. It seems overwhelming, but it's not, I promise. And so then as we punch the pages, they will just lay right here in those loops, and then I'll show you how to close it. One little trick that I like to do, I like to hide the seam of the coil. So the process that I have for hole punching is I take my project, I flip it upside down, and then I'm going to take the top cover page actually, and that will be on the top of my stack. It'll actually be this way, so front to back facing. Okay, so we're upside down, and then I'm going to go ahead and start punching, and you just kind of want to keep in mind, your orientation, what direction's facing up. Always punch in the same way. So if I start punching, so here's the front of it. This is the back of the front cover, and then I'm going to punch, so the holes will be this side, right? Because I want the coil this side. So I'm going to put it in here this direction. So I'm always going to put my pages in that direction, right? So you want them all the same. With this particular size, it doesn't make too much of a difference because we do have an equal amount of space on the top and the bottom. But sometimes if I have a project that's say 8 inches, it will be a little bit skewed. And so if you sometimes punch it this way, sometimes punch it this way, your pages will be jagged. So definitely, practice with some scrap paper before you do it on your actual project. That way you don't mess up your actual project. But so I've got the cover. I'm going to go ahead and flip it. So the top of the booklet is on the left-hand side. The bottom of the booklet's on the right-hand side, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to slide this in. It's up against the edge there. I'm going to go ahead and just punch. And then you're going to pull this guide all the way out. I'm going to make sure I'm in the frame. And I know it's hard to see with this, but we'll make do. This is going to slide all the way up against that guide there. I'm still up flush into the punch. Now, on the bottom here, it gives you some information. So these are the inches for your project, how tall your project is. I've already measured these. They are 8.5 inches. So if I go to the 8.5, it says pull peg number 5. So on this machine are these numbered pegs. So I'm going to pull out number 5. What this does is when I punch this, if I left number 5 in, it would have a half hole would happen at the top of my project. By pulling this out, that means this hole won't punch when I go to punch the paper. And so it will be, nice and clean. So that is what this chart is down here. Again, there's lots of videos out there if you're wanting to do something that is a different measurement that's not on here. It shows you how to use the center marking so you can center things. I try to keep things very, very, very simple for myself. There is a little, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, this little locking piece right here to lock in so that your product doesn't slide for the second punch. I don't always use that. But it just, again, just makes sure that everything stays lined up. So I can put that in there. I want to make sure that my margin space here is even. You can get, a little wonky on this side if you're not careful. So I'm trying to make sure everything is straight and flush. I've pulled peg number 5 and then I'll go and punch. Unlock everything. And now the front of my book is punched. So I'm actually going to put, now remember this is the front cover, but I'm actually going to put this down first. And so at the very end, I'll show you what happens with that. It hides this seam. But now we're going to operate as normal. This is from the back, right? Because we flipped over our project. Working from the back, I like to put this back in and it gets very monotonous. You can punch several pieces at a time. However, I'm going to be kind of mindful because I have these types of pieces that are smaller than the 8 inches. So I'm not going to stack those together. I'll do those individually. So back cover, I want the top of the booklet to the left first, right? Slide that in. I've gone ahead and pushed number 5 back in because I want all of the holes to punch. And punch that. So now we've got most of our holes. Open up that guide all the way. Put our paper in there. Put our lock down. Make sure everything is nice and straight. It's a little bit wonky, but that also could be that I didn't cut things terribly straight. Pulling out number 5 and then punching. And then you just go through the process. And so now you'll see I'm building up from back to front. So continuing on for a smaller piece like this. Again, I'm still going to work upside down, right? So this is the back of the card facing up, top of it to the left. So you can, this is where the center portion comes in. I don't know if you'll be able to see. It says center right here. So if you want to mark the center of your page and then line that up, you can. I just kind of eyeball it, and then I also eyeball to make sure, as I'm looking at this card, that each one of these pegs is going to be within the margins of my card. So let's say that it was actually like this, and there is a peg and a half kind of hanging off, then I need to keep in mind what pegs to pull out. But this, if I center it in there, I'll be able to punch every one of those holes and they will fall onto the card. So this, for like a journal like this that has different sized pages, I don't get too fussy about measurements. I just kind of, line things up. I can see there's a little tick mark there, little tick mark there. So I should be pretty centered and punch. So now you can see I didn't have any pegs falling off, and then I can stick this wherever I want within the book, though there is a little extra piece. So what is going to happen, and this is a good to show you what to do. So because it was perfectly lined up and there was a little bit of overhang, I have an extra long margin at the bottom. So it's hitting this piece right here. So there's a couple things that you could do. You could go, you know, and line it up this way and try to get a little half punch in there if you want. I'll just cut off the bottom of this card a little. That way it fits a little better in my book. So this is just one of those projects. You can't be a perfectionist. You just kind of have to, you know, adjust as you go, figure out what works for you. If that bothers you, do some tester pages first. So remembering that this is the back side of the page, right? So this is facing the front. This would be page 27. This would be page 28, right? So we're going to put it just like this. This one is a full page, and this should be a full page also, actually. No, see, so the pages that came, this is one of the cards, I think. Yes, one of the cards that came in the kit. It is slightly shorter than the devotional book. So I can either hold these together and punch it, but I don't want to do that. I want to individually punch these smaller pieces just so I can make sure nothing wiggles in there. So this is the top, going to the left. We're going to stick this in here. All of my pegs are in. Punch that, shift down, lock in place. Remember, this is a full 8.5, so we're going to pull that peg number 5 and punch. And just like that. And you can see this devotional from Open Journey, the margin just barely touches into those holes. So I'm losing like part of the T in time, but I'm not losing entire words. So I can still read the text just fine. Okay, for this one here, we're going to flip. No, we're going to do it this way. So this is the top. And this, let's see. I think this is at 8 1/4 if I remember correctly. Nope, 8 inches exactly. So for 8 inches is on here. So we'll pull peg number 4. We'll see how this works. So I'm going to go ahead and punch, slide this, lock in, and then we're going to pull peg number 4 because we're 8 inches. Now, this likely won't fit. It'll rub just a little bit. So if we hadn't pulled peg 4, you get this little half a square. That's going to make it fit a little bit nicer. Now, this also is another thing to show you. So by using this measurement, putting it all the way to the edge, you'll see all my tops are aligned and it's leaving a gap at the bottom. So if you didn't want that, then you could use the center mark the center of this card, and then punch it, you know, accordingly so that it fits centered in the book. I'm not fussing about that too much. I just want it to be clean when you look at it. So we're going to do it this way. Again, I've got a couple different things going on here. This one should be, yes, the same size. So because these pages are the same size, I can punch these together. This one is a fold out page. Hold on. Yes. So I'm going to punch here, and that's still going to let me have my fold out. Yep. So see, it's really hard to film and talk while you're doing it. You kind of just have to get in the groove and not stop, because when you stop, that's when mistakes happen. So this is how it was. Remember, this is back, front is facing down, top to the left, right? And I'm going to pick up 2 pages. I can actually pick up that 3rd page, 4th page. All of those can be punched together because they're all the same. So we're going to go ahead and stick that in. I just make sure everything is nice and flush since I'm punching multiple at a time. This is very heavy duty, so you can punch. I've even punched like chipboard with this, has been fine. So you can punch multiple pages. Do that. Up, slide down. Locking in place is helpful when you've got multiple pages like that. Because we're on the 8.5, we're going to pull peg 5. Punch it. And then we're going to go just like this. I think this is one of those projects that's just easier when you're doing it yourself. You kind of get the orientation as you're going along rather than trying to watch somebody else do it. Okay, so this is one of those cards that is only 8 inches. 8 inches, right? 8. Oh, it's actually just shy of 8, but that's okay. So we're going to go ahead and put this in. And I'm not going to pull any of the pegs because remember, I want it to nestle in here since it's smaller than my largest page. I do want one of those little half notches. So it's going to go just like that. So you can see you do have a gap. Again, if you don't like that, you can kind of adjust things if you want. Looks like a single page. This will be a full page. I think I may have done that wrong, but we'll see what happens. Yes. I punched the wrong side, so it should be right. Yes, it should have been like this. See, it happens to the best of us, not the end of the world. Pull peg 5. Okay, so it should have been like this. Now what I'll do is I could come through with a ribbon and weave it in here and then just have some texture on the page. Not the end of the world. I'm not going to cry about it. So that's the key, is just remember how you're picking them up and how you're putting them in and don't change that. So what I did with this was I actually flipped it. That wasn't right. It needs to stay like this. This is one of those shorter 8-inch pages, so we're not going to pull a peg for this one. And that's going to fit in there just like that. And we're just going to keep on going. So you can see it's a little bit tedious, but not the end of the world. So I'm going to go ahead and just continue punching these and let you watch me do that. So we have everything punched. Remember, our top cover is actually underneath here because that was the first thing we punched. So now everything should be in order. You can double check things before you bind it, but I'm good to go. So we'll go ahead and pull this off. And you're going to flip this around. And then on top here is where you have your different measurements for your coils. So one thing that I am irritated by, you would think this company would have it like all together. Like it says 5/8 here, but then on the packaging for the coil, it's 0.625 inches and 1.58 centimeters. So not the same measurements between the two things. So, I mean, I know that works, but you can just look up, what this is in, fractions or vice versa to figure it out. But this 0.625, I use the 5/8 setting. There's like a little knob here. You just turn this and it changes, the depth of the press. So the press portion is on the back side here. Tells you cinch area, watch your fingers. So I like to have it like this. So the open section is along the spine of your project. And then you're going to insert this so that it's flush against the back. This is a little bit longer than what this is. So I just start from either the top or the bottom and cinch those down. So we're going to push this. That's going to close those coils. I don't do them too tight on these because I do want to add some more stuff into them. So now we can just go ahead and do those last 3 on the side there. Okay, so now move that out of the way. Now, when we flip the front cover around to the front, it's going to hide that seam within our book. So it's nice and clean on the outside, and then that seam is right here in the front. Now, you can use your pliers to like fix these little pieces. I don't really worry about it too much. Now, I could probably cinch this just a little bit tighter. You do want there to be some overlap so that your pages don't slide out. So see here, my page will come out. So all I need to do is just put it back in there, cinch it a little bit tighter so that this loop goes in between these loops. Again, it's probably one of those things that's just easier when you see in person. So now they're touching. Now my book won't fall apart. So now we've got our pieced together little booklet. Everything is nice and contained, and you are good to go. So there is how I put together one of these deconstructed kind of junk journal style devotionals from the kits. So check out the description box for links to everything that I used. Leave any questions or comments that you have down below. I know this probably wasn't the best like tutorial for how to use the cinch machine, but again, I do have another video. I'll link that down below. You can check that between the 2 of them. And these have been out forever, so I know there's a million videos online that are probably better instructional videos with less mess ups for how to use that, but I did want to show those of you who are asking. But again, check out the description box for links to everything. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, if you found this helpful. I'm really enjoying this type of project, so you're going to see more of it, I'm sure. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed, and until next time, thank you so much. Bye-bye.